Okay guys, I'm here today. Keep getting a lot of questions from mainly my powder burner type followers, my air gunners followers. They already kind of know this, but keep asking me why I had these big wheels on my guns, and it's usually just on my air rifles. But I'd like to try to explain that a little bit. Basically, they're parallax wheels. These are all side focus, but most people are, a lot of people are familiar with this type, where you adjust it here on the end, and you can see the markings on here for yardage and stuff. Then you got ones like this one. So side wheel, let's see if I can get it in here to focus, but turn it, and this one actually goes out to 500 yards. This is a 8x32 Mueller. You'll get a noisy neighbor. I think she's got a hot rod. Well, why do air gunners use it so much? Trajectory. The pellets are going so slow most of the time, you're getting this, and you're not shooting very far. In hunter field target shooting, which uses targets like this to where you have to hit and knock it down. These holes vary in size. In hunter field target, the distances are just field target in general. The targets are between 10 and 55 yards. So usually as they get closer, this hole gets small. It gets small as 3/8 of an inch. And then usually it's wide open to the max out at 55 yards. You are not allowed to use rangefinders, laser rangefinders. So you have to rely upon your scope. Now, do you need to rely so much on it with powder burners, shooting bullets at 3,000 feet per second? That's pretty flat. But, if you're shooting out further than that, you could really actually use this to judge your range, because it ultimately is a range finder. As you're focusing this, when your image snaps into focus, that's your yardage, if you have it set up properly. A lot of times the numbers that are on these deals aren't exactly right. Your eye variation and stuff, it changes a little bit. But like, here's an example of with and without one. This is my Armalite rifle. It's in 223 Wild. Has a UTG scope. It's a 3-12 with a side focus, but you notice I don't have a wheel on it. Well, 100 yards bench shooting or whatever, you can just set it, just focus it, you're done. If you start shooting some longer ranges, you may want to put a bigger wheel on it. May not. It's up to you. Let me move this one out of the way. I say this is the exact same scope, but I've got a wheel on it. This is the wheel that UTG makes for it. See if we can get in here and focus on it a little bit. But you see there's 10 yards, 200, infinity. Spreads it out a little bit compared to what you're seeing here on this scope. This is just my general out yard plinking, maybe shoot a squirrel with. This one actually goes all the way down to 3 yards. And what I'll do is I line it up to the center of my scope ring mount. That's the way I do it. Now when you get into heavy competition, you will find guys having wheels like this. And this will be easier to explain on it. Now this is a UTG scope. Yeah, I like UTG, so they're good to me, good quality for the money they are. This is the most expensive UTG I got. It's got an etched glass mill dot reticle in it. It goes 6 to 24. In the competition I use this with, I'm only allowed up to 16, so I have to have it set at 16. But if you take this and you dissect this circle. Actually, let me back up here. This is the UTG ring or wheel that goes on it. I took and machined me a piece of Delrin that would press onto it and made the wheel a little bit bigger. It's 6 inches. And why bigger? Well, dissect a pie. You got, this is set at 10 yards right now. And if you dissect a pie, that's set at 15. Look at that pie shape there. I've got lots of room in between to set. There's 10 and here's 15. I have lots of room in between to mark 11 yards, 12 yards. I shoot competition some. I've been to a few matches, not a whole lot. I go to them more for social and just for enjoyment of pushing myself. But some of these guys, they get really serious. You know, they go and try to compete and win state championships and stuff like that. I'm just not that type. I just like going shooting, having fun. But anyway, a lot of these guys, they set these things up every yard between 10 and 55 yards. So when you're sitting here focusing on it, which the side wheels are better to focus with, because if you're out here trying to focus, then you got to look up and see where it's at and then get back down. And it's easier to do this and just watch your wheel right here off to the side. You get on your hunter field targets or the field target competition, you have no idea what the target's at. When the range master sets it up, he sets them up. He sets up 2 targets per lane, somewhere between 10 and 55 yards. You usually have a close shot and a long shot. He's the only one that knows the exact distance. And they have a formula, then they calculate how hard the course actually was. But when you get to the line and it's your turn to shoot, you got to sit down, you got to focus it, and when you get it to where it's nice and smooth and it just focuses and it just pops in right quick, you can look at that and say, okay, this one's at 17 yards. You take your dope sheet that you've already made up, go, okay, I got to hold over a 1/2 mil dot, and you should be right on. Field target is kind of like mini sniping. You're using these low power air rifles with a trajectory like this, and you've got to figure out exactly where to put that pellet. You got to be able to read the wind, because pellets, 2 mile an hour wind will push a pellet. So you got to be able to read all that stuff. I'm not great at it, but I do okay. When you get into it though, the way I've set mine up is there's people that use printed out ones and they stick them on here. I take a blank piece on here and I go out here and I set my target up. I measure off 10 feet and I sit down and I focus. Just keep working it until I get it to where I go, that is 10 yards. And I draw me a line on it. And I take a few shots to verify that where I've got to be. And you got to realize on pellet guns, your scope's up here, your barrel's down here. If you're sighting at 30 yards, at 10 yards, you're going to be shooting 3 or 4 inches high. You know, whatever your distance is, till that pellet comes up to your line of sight, you're going to be holding over. Most people get confused with that. But then depends on how you have your setup. A lot of people set at 30 yards. Some people set at their maximum arc. You know, so everything is holdover, so they don't get confused. But anyway, you get your range figured out. Use your dope sheets and stuff like that. Okay, now we're talking about just doing a match game. Now, what if you want to go hunting? And we'll do that. Now, as some of y'all know, this is my 308 air rifle. It's not a high-powered, what I call high-powered. It barely even makes state minimum to what needed to hunt deer in Texas. It's putting out, forgot what it is now, 210, no, a little over 200 foot-pounds of a 150 grain bullet. I have determined for me what distance I feel comfortable shooting this gun. Thought the camera was messing up. Okay. I figured out the distance I like to shoot this gun at and feel comfortable, because I'm taking an animal and I want to make sure I take it cleanly. The trajectory on this thing is crazy. For you guys that shoot 300 blackout subsonic, I don't know exactly what most subsonics are. I'm thinking they're around 1,000 feet per second. And y'all shooting some pretty heavy bullets. I know some of them are talking about shooting 180, 200 grain bullets at 1,000 feet per second. Y'all, if y'all have ever checked the trajectory on that, you're going to see that it's got a pretty good rainbow. It's going to have a big drop after 100 yards. And that would be beneficial to y'all to have one of these, because after 100 yards, if that blackout bullet keeps dropping and dropping and dropping, you know, all you're doing is compensating, hoping you're at the right distance. In the field targets, you're not allowed to use rangefinders, laser rangefinders. All you're allowed to use is this. Obviously you can range find while you're hunting or whatever, but if you rely on this, you don't have to even carry one of them with you. I've determined on this gun between 50 and 100 yards is the max I want to shoot this gun at a large animal, just for the power factor. So I've got my gun set up at 75 yards. Now all I got to do is tweak a little bit on this to figure out exact ranges, and all I've got is a minimum amount of hold over or under to take care of that. So, but yeah, if you think about it, you got a pie shape here. The distance on that pie shape, I believe the term is arc radius. If you tried to put 1 yard increments on a diameter that big, you're just going to end up with a big mark. I mean, you can't separate them. So the further out you can make that, the further apart you can put your lines. Then you can get more precise at exactly how far the deer is, or the animal, the target, whatever. You know, if you like to rabbit hunt with an air gun and you only want to do a headshot, that's a small target. You better know the distance. So, you know, you can benefit from these not only in air guns but in powder burner guns too, on slow moving, low powered guns. So anyway, just thought I would give y'all try to give y'all some of my explanation of it. You know, I'm just an old redneck cowboy, country boy, and that's my interpretation of it. So I hope this helped anybody. They can use it for whatever reason. But anyway, appreciate y'all following me on YouTube and stuff, and thanks for watching.